All right.
Okay, a very big welcome to Denbigh Amateur Radio Club. Welcome to our club members. Welcome to friends and supporters of the club. And welcome to visitors tonight who have come along to see what we're up to. I'd like to give a really big welcome to John, G3UCQ, and to Neil N4FM, who between them, I think, are going to both give us a talk about the Spitfire, which will be great fun, and also something as well about the Spitfire Morse Key. And I'm not going to steal John's thunder or Neil's thunder to describe what the Spitfire Morse Key was designed for, what it looks like. John can introduce that to it himself. We've got a couple of very nice things taking place. After the talk, John is going to reactivate the special call sign that he set up last year, Golf Bravo 1 Spitfire Morse Key, SMK, and he's going to give a call on 80 meters to start with on 35010 on CW plus or minus QRM using GB1 SMK. So club members are more than welcome to give him a call. I've listened on, well, in fact, I've operated on 80 CW for a couple of nights this week to see what conditions are like. And I can genuinely tell people in the room, I haven't heard a single G station on 80 CW. And when I put a CQ call out, I've worked into Europe and North America, but no one in the UK. So I think the chances of any of us from the UK hearing John down in Cornwall are going to be slim. Some of our members elsewhere in the world, in Europe, may have a chance. So Mike and Adrienne and Jeff in particular, and those in the States, Bob out in New Jersey, maybe not on 80, but on 20 for the States is still open, I think, to the US at the moment. So, John, I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to hand the microphone over to you. I guess you're going to start and you can explain what you've been up to.
Right, okay. Well, I've got to set up my little presentation here first.
Sure.
Now let's see. All right. Oh, what's happened there? Oh, right.
Just me spotlighting you, that's all.
Yes, right. Oh, yeah, what happened was, when you did that, my my PowerPoint screen went, oh, right. Okay.
You should be able to run your PowerPoint okay, John.
Right, okay. Right, so, oh, yeah, I've got to share it though, haven't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't see any screen to share it now.
Well, let me just make you small again, and then
okay,
you'll be able to.
Yeah, I've got no share buttons or anything. Sorry.
Yeah, apologies to you. So
I knew there'd be a few glitches. I expect there'd be some more before we finish, because this is something new to me. Because Nick put this on to me about a few weeks ago, and I've never even used PowerPoint, so I had to learn that, and I've never even used Zoom either. So, but I still
go on, John. You should be able to run PowerPoint now.
I can run it, but will you? But I'm not sharing my screen. How would you see that? I can't.
Are you sharing the correct screen, John?
I'm not sharing any screen at the moment.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. You need to. Obviously, you need to.
I can't see the buttons to do that, Nick. Sorry. I hope. Oh, I haven't got my notes now either. Wait a minute. They've all gone. Oh, I know what's happened. Sorry. Right. Okay. Can you see my? So, right, what I'm going to talk about is my Spitfire flight. Can you see that come up?
We can, yeah.
Right, okay. My Spitfire flight and the Spitfire Morse Key, GB1 SMK, and a world first. So, good evening, everyone, wherever you may be. Thank you, Nick, for inviting me to do this presentation, and I hope I can do justice to the subject. Hello from the beautiful county of Cornwall to what I believe is called God's own country. Even though I was born in London and have lived in Cornwall for much of my life, I have a strong affinity with Yorkshire, as my father was born in Meltham, and his ancestors lived and worked in Bramley in the woolen mills there. My father's mother's family, called Feather, lived in Haworth, and we all know what Haworth is famous for. Okay, so most of this presentation will consist of videos about 10 to 5 minutes long, and as there are only 4, I hope you can stay with me to the end. So on to the subject of Spitfire Morse keys. These are the subjects which I will be covering, so let us set the scene with this short video.
The gratitude of every home in our island, in our empire, and indeed throughout the world, except in the abodes of the guilty, goes out to the British airmen who, undaunted by odds, unwearied in their constant challenge and mortal danger, are turning the tide of the world war by their prowess and by their devotion. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few.
We're talking about total war. There's nobody else helping us. All the continent have fallen down, and it was us against this monster.
These aeroplanes represent to the British people an unwillingness to be bullied.
The country couldn't possibly have too many of these fighters.
It was a design which was brilliant. You can't fly a Spitfire and forget about it. It stays with you forever.
Enemy aircraft were falling. Like,
you had to be very careful in landing. She was a lady in the air, but a bitch on the ground.
I looked up, and the air was filled with Germans. Had they landed, they'd have won, and the course of world history would have been changed.
We've got to always remember those who didn't come back.
This aeroplane stands for so much. Grace and gallantry. She is a symbol of freedom.
I hope you saw that. Did you all see that?
We did, John. Absolutely perfect.
Oh, good. Right. Okay, that's fine then. Okay. Right. Now, the 15th of October 2020 was my 80th birthday. And along with a birthday card from my son was an envelope. In the envelope was a note saying that he had purchased a flight in a Spitfire from Biggin Hill Airfield in Kent. I mean, honestly. Because of COVID, we were not able to make the flight until Monday, the 2nd of August last year. My son Nick and I drove up to Biggin Hill the day before from Cornwall up to Kent and got to the airfield the next morning for a 9 a.m. flight. The weather was perfect. I attended a video briefing which told me that flying as a Spitfire is not as safe as flying in a modern airliner, which would have had at least 2 engines and 2 pilots, so if one failed there was a backup. But not so in the Spitfire. If either failed, then I could die. However, I would be given a parachute and I was instructed on how to get out of the aircraft in the event of a failure. Between you and me, there was no way was I going to bail out of that plane. If I was going to die, it might as well be in a Spitfire. The Spitfire would be fitted with 2 video cameras to record the flight, and my son was going to be in a chase plane to video the Spitfire from a distance. So here is the video of my flight, which I hope you will enjoy. First, a few stills.
Okay, yep.
No going back now. Clamped in. I've got to jack the seat up at this point. It's hydraulic pumped up. Here we go. And that's thumbs up to my son over there in the chase plane. Here we go. The engine's about to start. View from the chase plane. Here we go. This is the grey nurse Spitfire. Look at the hurricane there. of the wing. It goes out first, and we follow it out to the runway. That's the view for the when we got to the runway, we had to wait a little while because there was another aircraft landing, so we had to wait for it to land and clear the runway before we could start to get off. You just see the plane coming there in front of us now, and there's another one behind me, behind the Spitfire. So Nick is in that front plane, and my son, and that's our white one, and that's going to go first. Takeoff in a Spitfire was quite tricky. You've got an enormously powerful engine there, 1600 horsepower, and the torque of it could pull it well to the left if you're not careful. So you have to give it some right rudder. You also take off without flaps and not full power. Looking in the distance over the wing there. And we're going to rendezvous now with the chase plane. This is taken by my son's mobile phone. It's quite incredible quality. Perfect day for this flight. Absolutely perfect. There is a band there for your use as well if you need it. Unfortunately, I didn't. I don't know what road that is down. We're going to do a peel away. Here we go. Here's the road below us. Just see the Spitfire in the distance now. And there's London. We're going to do a fast run past it. I don't know what speed the chase plane is doing, but it looks like it's standing still as we go by. open it up a bit. Here we go. The water's a good pen. Hold on a minute, let's get bigger in. At this point, the chase plane has gone back beyond the bucket Biggin Hill, and I've given a chance to fly the plane for a little while. Nothing special, just move it to the left and the right and up and down. Can't touch the throttle, of course, or the rudder controls, just the stick. Also seeing the flight is coming to an end and we're coming into an end.
Brilliant, thanks Barry. Hey.
There's the Hurricane again.
That's a 1.5 hour. Okie doke.
Just two people push that around. Two handlers. Apparently we used about 50 gallons of fuel in that flight. It was just about 20 minutes flying.
Are we swapping aircraft still?
So it's the least expensive of the flights, but your 90-minute flight is going to use a fair bit of fuel.
There's no one here.
Lower your seat, mate, for me. Take your gloves off, make you more comfortable.
See the door that's open there, and there's a little red pipe. That's to keep the door open if it jams.
Morning all.
That was put during the Second World War.
Get some photographs of your lad. He's all yours, sir. Come and get some pictures. Here we are. Done it.
And there we are. Did you see that okay, Nick?
I did. It was absolutely brilliant. Lots of people were commenting, John, about how fantastic that flight looked from here.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, good. Because I couldn't hear that. So
it's one of those occasions where you'll want to clap, I think, afterwards.
Oh, really? Okay. Fine. Okay. So, right. Well, I've got a friend in the States, Neil, as you've heard, Neil N4FM, who saw that video. And at this point, I'd like to bring in Neil to tell us of his association with the Spitfire. So over to you, Neil. So what have I got to do anything now to bring in?
No, Neil will move on straight away, John. No problem.
Okay, bring on Neil then. Thanks. Okay, Neil, all yours, mate.
Okay. Is everybody hearing me okay?
Yeah, we are indeed. 100%, no problem.
Well, I apologize. We don't speak English in this country. We speak American. And as my late friend G3UCQ, we did an admirable job of messing up a wonderful language. But just a little bit of background. I became enamored with the Spitfire as a youngster growing up in World War II. And so to figure that out, I'm going to be 88. But what started this, and I hope this is going to work. Are you seeing that okay?
Yeah, it's a lovely photograph, Neil. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't see anything, but okay. Oh,
that is not a Spitfire. It apparently is a British Defiant.
Yeah, we can't see anything.
You can't?
No, I'm afraid not, sir.
Okay.
Kevin, I saw it held up.
Okay.
So not everyone did, but never mind, Neil. Don't worry.
Yeah, I can't see Neil. Sorry, Neil. Nick, have I got to stop sharing because I can't see Nick? I can't see Neil.
Yes,
right,
you do need to stop sharing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, stop sharing for.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, Neil, show us the photograph again, Neil.
Yeah, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. You probably have a little bit of glare from the glass, but that is me in 1941, back when I had dark hair and had hair. The plane, the aircraft, is a model that my father built for me. And as it turns out, it's not a Spit, but it's, I believe, a British Defiant. But that started my interest in the Spitfire growing up in World War II. In school, I would get into trouble drawing pictures of airplanes like Spitfires when I would be doing other studies. My dad was in the old Army Air Corps, and he flew Mitchell's B-25s in the Pacific. Matter of fact, I have his, what we call dog tags, the identity discs that were my father's. I have his wings, and I have the flag, the American flag that was placed on his coffin. And it is folded in what is known as the traditional cocked hat. It's a triangular shape, and it's in a special container. Well, that kind of started me with the Spit. And I've been a ham radio operator for 62 years. And I have a very dear friend locally, Tom Calvinelli, who is a retired senior captain at Delta. He's not a ham, he's normal. None of us are normal. But Tom knew of my interest in the Spitfire. And one Christmas, he hands me this small box. And I opened the wrapping and I about fell through the floor. Inside, in the original carton, the original box it was packed in, was a brand new Spitfire Morse Key. Tom, as I said, was not a ham, but he knew of my interest in ham radio. And when he gave me that key, I said to him, "Where did you get that?" And he said, "Well, there's a newspaper for pilots called Trader Plane, and it's a regular newspaper, and it was listed in there, and I bought it for you." Well, I found out where he got it, called the gentleman up at his establishment, and I said, told him what I was interested in. I said, "How many have you got?" He said, "I don't know, I'll check." Well, he did. He called me back in about 10 minutes, and he said, "I have 4.
Wow.
I said, "How much would you like for all 4? And he gave me a figure. I said, "Ship it." And so I have actually 2 of the keys, and 2 of them I gave to very dear friends who were Morse fiends. So I then went online and I started hunting for things. The next thing I came up with, and I'm going to try something. I have my iPad here, and I'm going to move to my Spitfire department, and I'll show you that I had acquired the next thing I was able to obtain from a fellow who had them in Texas was a artificial horizon, gyro horizon from a Spitfire. And interestingly enough, in red lettering on the side, it said, "Handle like eggs." And so I have that. And the next thing that I was able to come up with was the lamp. And that was when I found out that the Morse key was not meant to key a radio. The Spitfire had 2 identification lamps, one just aft of the aerial and one underneath the fuselage on the bottom. And the reason that they used those, because of radio silence in World War II, a pilot could talk to another pilot by using the Morse key and flashing out Morse. So I said, well, gee, I've only got half. Well, I found a fellow in England who had a brand new lamp, also in the original box, wrapped up in the wax paper that was commonly used for articles. So I got that, and then I did a little creative work like all hams. I rewired slightly so as not to damage the key or the lamp. And I rewired it so that I could use a 12-volt power supply and flash the lamp. And then John and I got together. Both of us know each other through our work as a beta tester for Ham Radio Deluxe. That's how we met. And we decided we would try and do a QSO using that key. So I rewired the connector so that I could key my Yaesu. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my iPad and let me see if this is going to work. I'm not 100% sure, but you'll tell me. Well, it looks like it might be. Can you see this?
Yeah, we can. You probably need to turn the picture around, Neil, so we can see you on that. So
Hold on. Yeah, I know. I should have put my spectacles on.
okay, we can see that.
See it now, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me turn it this way. Can you see that?
Yes.
We can. We can.
Good. Well, you'll notice, I'll get a little closer. There's a gyro from a Spit. And there is the Morse key. You'll see that when John does his, and the identification lamp. The other item I got was an 8-day clock from a Spitfire. And that was a panel mount made by the W. Smith Company in London.
Okay.
The model I was able to, I guess a lot of you are familiar with the Dayton Hamfest. The Air Force Museum is located in the same place. And I have a collection of photographs. The one that you could see over the model, I have because I wanted you to see what are known as invasion stripes. The 3 stripes on each wing and on the fuselage. And then next to that other photograph is the only surviving or flying Lancaster, a Spit in formation with it. And when I first saw that, I said, my God, that Lancaster is a huge aircraft. Then I have a collection over here of small models, some QSL cards from special event stations, and then many photographs. That big one, by the way, is a painting. It's not a photograph. It's beautiful. And these are all different Spits. A little bit of interesting, that photograph, of course, is of a Spitfire with Israeli markings. In World War II, a lot of aircraft were made outside of Europe. And they had some that were done, for example, P-51 Mustangs had a Rolls-Royce Merlin. The Spitfire had a Merlin. Yeah. And they were made by the Packard Motor Car Company under license. Well, after the Israel became an independent state, they didn't have an air force. So they went to Europe, to Czechoslovakia. And the first aircraft that they obtained for their aircraft, believe it or not, were Messerschmitts, Me-109s. And then the Czechs let them have Spitfires, and they Spits were repainted blue, and they had the Israeli star on it. And then, you know, these are some of the other photographs that I have. So that gives you a little bit of background on what I have been collecting. And I'm coming back to you folks. All right. That is in a nutshell as to how John and I came to consider making a contact using the Morse keys. So let me do one thing. Hold on a sec. Okay, here we go. This is a close-up of the Morse key. I have to tip it so you can see it. You notice it's marked Canada. A lot of equipment was made in Canada and in Commonwealth countries, and the markings on it, if you'll notice the switches, say downward Morse or upward Morse. Well, that had to do with the indicator lamp, which is right here.
Yeah.
This is, I mounted this with the aid of a friend of mine who does woodworking.
Neil.
And the thing that made it very difficult,
Neil,
at least for me, was the fact that the throw on the key, that was how it was activated, is not adjustable. The tension is, the spring tension is adjustable, but not the gap. So the gap is hard. John's smarter than I am. A lot of people are smarter than I am. And he used some, I think it's called blue tack, and a nut or something on that to close down the gap on the key to make it easier to key. So, and then of course there was a diagram.
Can Neil hear me? Neil, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, John.
Sorry, Neil. I'm going to cover some of this stuff in a couple of videos in a moment, actually.
Okay.
So, but all right.
Go ahead, John.
Well, no, you finish up what you're saying because.
Okay. Well,
I'm going to go over again, but all right, because I've made a short video about it. But all right.
I use power poles to make up a connector, and then use this to key the radio, and it worked out okay. So, John, go ahead.
Okay, well, is that okay? All right, thank you, Neil, for that. Over to you, Nick, for a moment.
Yes, indeed, John. I think the microphone's back to you, but I wanted to, John, I wanted to mention something to you because you talked about your family in Meltham.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that you knew that there was a factory in Meltham, which was the aero gear division of David Brown and Sons.
Okay.
And they supplied the gears for the Hercules engines and also for Spitfires.
Oh, really?
And they were made in the factory at Meltham.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
And the same factory, David Brown's, was based on the very site where I live now. So my little housing development used to be one of the David Brown's factories in Penistone, where although they made armor plating for the Churchill and the Cromwell tanks, they also made the castings for the Spitfire aero engines.
Right.
So you guys, Neil with his family background and yours with your links up to here in Yorkshire, has got even more links to the Spitfire than you imagined, I think, John.
I didn't
so
know
back to you. I know you've got some more things you want to show us.
Have you sort of wound up now, Neil, or what? Have you got anything further to mention? But I'm going to go over some of the bits you've already mentioned in the video I'm going to show. Okay. Right. Okay. Oh, I've got to go back to my screen sharing now. Then
you have it
to show you this. Right. Where are we? Let's see. Screen share. I've got that on. So having seen Neil's, you can hear me now. Okay, Neil. Nick, can you?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So having seen Neil's Spitfire, it seemed to me that owning my own Spitfire Morse Key was a no-brainer. As he already said, it's not to signal by radio, but to use lamps. Actually, the pilots had to learn Morse code up to 15 words a minute. So those of you who are struggling with 12, hang your heads in shame. Can you imagine sending Morse code with your right hand and flying a plane with the other in combat or whatever? I mean, you know, at 20,000 feet, and you're talking to your mate across, who's maybe 50 feet away, and sending Morse code, and the mind boggles. Anyway, after much searching on the internet, I eventually found a dealer in Australia who had the Morse key, and he also happened to have the lamp, so I bought them both. Now he sent them to me on a beautiful wooden made of mango wood plinths with a Spitfire model on the top of each one. So what I'm going to show you now is what I got and how they work together. Hopefully. Oh, no, that's wrong. Wait a minute, sorry. We've seen that. Right, so I want to go, sorry, where are we? Oh, these are some, oh, here we are. I'll take it from here. So here is the Morse key and the lamp. The Morse key has two switches on it, which enables the pilot to select whichever lamp he wants to use. One for the downward on the bottom of the fuselage and one for the top. You can see that mine is a lot more worn than Neil. Neil's got a brand new one. Mine has obviously been literally through the wars. You can see all the wear on it. And okay, open up the and show you the insides of it. There's a circuit diagram, and the key works like this. As you can see, I've got two model Spitfires. Yeah, the Australian dealer in this particular one is exactly the same as the one I flew in Biggin Hill. It's a grey nurse Spitfire of an Australian squadron during World War II. The grey nurse was a shark, of course, hence the shark's teeth on the front or the mouth. Okay, so I'll show you how these two work together. Okay, hopefully that was all right. Right, I soon had my key on the air, but it was rather long-winded explaining in CW that I was using a Spitfire Morse key, so I applied to Ofcom for GB1SMK, Spitfire Morse Key, which I had for 1 month of last year, and I created a QRZ.com page so all the information would be on that. Then, as you heard, Neil suggested we have a QSO using our own Morse keys. So that would probably be the first radio contact between two Spitfire Morse keys, and certainly the furthest contact being from the United Kingdom to Georgia in the USA. So we did it one day on 20 meters. So hopefully I can show you, that's where the Morse key is in the aircraft. And this is some pictures I took inside the Biggin Hill Heritage Hangar. There's a Merlin engine being reconditioned. It costs around £100,000 to have that done, and every 500 hours the whole aircraft needs an overhaul for airworthiness certificates, and that will cost around 2 million, and that has to be done every 500 hours. So owning a Spitfire, which might cost you about 3 or 4 million to buy in the first place, is not going to be cheap to maintain. Alright, this is the QSO between Neil and myself. before I stick in there. Okay, did that come through okay, Nick?
Absolutely, 5 and 9 copy, John. Very good.
Okay, great. I'm glad of that. All right. So, right, we're nearly at the end of the. Is there anything you want to add to that, Neil?
No. Yeah, oh, well, I don't know. Do I have to share screen? I wanted to show one other thing.
All right. Okay. I've got to. Yes, I've got to stop sharing now, so I'll so I can see you. Okay, I can see you now.
Okay.
Oh, I need a drink.
Does that look familiar to anyone?
Keep calm, stay home.
That's a takeoff I found in England when the COVID started. It's in World War II. It had the Royal Crown. It said "Keep calm and carry on." Well, this was a takeoff on that. So I thought that was kind of humorous, and I getting old is not for sissies, I'll tell you that. Anyway, that's it, gents.
Thank you, Neil. I'll go back to my screen sharing again then, because I've got one final thing to tie it up with now. Okay, so one of my pastimes, apart from amateur radio, is flying planes with Microsoft Flight Simulator. Microsoft released a brand new version of the Flight Sim in August of 2020, which is the first upgrade for over 10 years. Everyone thought that they'd finished with flight simming, but they released a brand new version, and it's actually gone ballistic. A few months, it's been a runaway success because the computer power nowadays and graphics capability in quite a modest PC can display the graphics that are required, and they've got the whole of the Earth is covered by another map system like Google, but it's called Bing, the Bing map, and the whole of the Earth, whole of the world is on it. Every airport is on it, including the Crossland Moor airfield. which I'll come to in a moment. So anyway, I got the simulator, and a few months ago an Australian company released a Spitfire for it. Well, obviously no brainer. I go and buy the Spitfire to fly in the simulator, don't I? So, and also one of the liveries it comes with is the grey Nurse Shark livery, which I flew from Biggin Hill. So I suggested that I put this into the meeting this evening. Nick seemed to be quite enthusiastic about it. So what I've done is I'm going to make a short flight from Crossland Moor, which I believe is Huddersfield International, taking off from runway 25, turn southwest over the reservoir and over Meltham, where my father was born, as you've just heard, over Snailsden Pike End, and east down the valley to Penistone, north wends to Denbydale, up to Huddersfield and land back at Crossland Moor. And so here we go. Hopefully. Let's go. Sorry, we've got a sync here. Right, it's this one. Hopefully. Right. Here we are inside the cockpit of this Spitfire. First thing we need to do is shut the door. Latch it. Right. I'm not going to go through all of the startup procedure because it's quite lengthy. But here we go. Right, so we're going to tack this. The airfield is not terribly well modelled because it's a sort of generic airfield. I don't know how it is and how many trees are actually around there, of course. But we're going to taxi down to runway 25, which is heading, well, obviously nearly due west, not quite. So I've got views outside of the cockpit and also inside it, rather like a chase plane. But the sound of the Merlin engine is being recorded from the real one, so it's pretty accurate. Well, in fact, the whole thing, it even flies accurately. Although we're taking some liberties with this because I've got no air traffic control or anything like that. But we're cheating as far as that's concerned. I don't know what the scenery is like compared with what it really is like up there, but and I've also picked a nice sunny day for this flight. No wind, beautiful clear skies. Here we go. We're going to start pulling onto the runway in a moment. And you mustn't brake too hard on these things. Whoops, because if you do, you could pitch it forward and the propeller could hit the ground and that would cause a lot of damage. One thing about taking off in this plane is that as I said before, an extremely powerful engine, and the torque of it could pull it well to the left if you're not careful. So you have to give it some right rudder, and no flaps, and not full power. If you put full power on, you'd flip it over. In fact, quite a number of young pilots were killed just taking off because they couldn't get the hang of it. Anyway, here we go. Slight pull to the left. Whoops. Up to the ground there. Now give it a bit more gun. Here we go. There's a tree there, I don't know why that's going. Gear up. Now turn slightly south towards the reservoir and melt it. I don't know if some of you have got a little bag beside you, but you might need it. reservoirs. Down in the valley, and then we climb up and go over Snailston again. Scene was lovely. You can tell me when this is finished how accurate this is, because it's gorgeous. See the down to the reservoir. Taking up here is a good spot for VHF field. See the markings on the glass cockpit. Look at that. It's all rubber. Now we're heading towards Aniston. That's pretty close to this wind turbine here. Alright, Carson, when it's coming up, look at the cars on the road. We've even modelled cars on the road. It's quite incredible what's been done. Going to do a roll now, but it doesn't come out quite well in the video. It's got a flip, but it's actually climb up and then through the roll. Oh well. I don't know why I did that, but I get the idea. Anyway. Heading towards Denby Vale. See the crowbar there to keep the door open, it's stuck. Denby Vale, and we'll do a little wing waddle. Here we go. Hello guys. Now we're heading towards Huddersfield. Huddersfield. Take a bit of car off now because we need to slow down the landing. Gear down and the flaps actually act more like an air brake than actual flaps of the aircraft. They don't reduce the install speed too much, they act as an air brake. And they can't be deployed faster than 180 miles an hour, otherwise you'd wreck them. So you have to be slower than 180 before you deploy them. But we're well under that when I did that. We were about 120 I think. But we landed around about 85 nautical knots. And there were trees, we haven't got this quite right, there were trees right at the start of the runway, which is a bit daunting, but we can get down over that. So we're not quite lined up here, we're just going to go a little bit to the right, over the quarry, and then drop down onto it. Here we go. Put the flaps back up again. You can just see the lamp behind the aerial there on the top of the fuselage. Just a little white dot there, back behind it. They've modelled that in it. That will be started. Whoops, don't brake too hard. Right, one final little bit of video.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after tomorrow, when the world is free.
Here we are.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. That was, I think we all enjoyed that. That was absolutely fabulous.
Okay.
Certainly was.
Excellent.
Yeah, well done. And it was great to see you taking off and going over locations for lots of our members here this evening up here in Yorkshire who would have been familiar.
How accurate was the modelling? The layout, the landscape, was it pretty good?
Go on, Ian, you dive in since he drove over your house.
The quarry were right, all the reservoirs were right, the roads were right. Unfortunately, moors don't have any trees, but other than that, I thought it was very good.
Yeah, there's pine trees as well. Look, apart from looked like pine trees, Ian, as well. Didn't they?
Yeah.
It looked really good and it absolutely fantastic. He passed over my house as well as Ian's.
Really? Yeah, they haven't modelled the trees well in Cornwall either, because down towards Land's End, where it gets very, very windy, they've got quite a few trees. Even some on little rocks out in the sea, which they wouldn't exist. So no, but apart from that, I mean, it's very difficult to get the algorithm for all that right, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. They try and get every type of tree that should be there. You know, where there should be conifers, they put conifers, not oak trees. You know, but it's pretty good, really.
John, we ought to hand the microphone over to our club treasurer, Phil,
right.
G4FSQ, because I know that, Phil, you've flown aeroplanes from Croston Airfield. So you ought to comment on the reality of it.
All right. There's not much.
Go on, over to you, Phil.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It brought back a lot of memories. I flew light aeroplanes for over 20 years, and I've flown in and out of Crosland Moor many, many times. There's just one little technical detail, if you're not too familiar with the runway. As you backtrack there, John, you're actually backtracking down the roadway which you take to get across the moor. There's a steep bank between the roadway and the runway, which you couldn't go up in an aeroplane. Aeroplanes actually backtrack down 25, turn around at the bottom, and then take off. And a little technical detail: the last 200 meters of runway 25 are grass. There's 700 meters of tarmac and 200 meters of grass. It was all tarmac on that display. But apart from that, a lot of the detail was very good indeed.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Heathrow or Gatwick, I mean, all the evidence is just spot on. But I mean, obviously, a tiny airport like that, they wouldn't be able to model it all completely. So yeah.
One thing you certainly got right, you landed just beyond the chevrons. The purpose of the chevrons is that there's a quarry immediately ahead of the runway.
Right.
So when you've got a headwind, which you usually have when you're landing on tip 5, as the wind curls round, you can find yourself coming down straight towards the numbers, and all of a sudden you get sucked down. Right. So it tells you in the Polish flight guide to land beyond the chevrons, so that you come in higher. And you did just land beyond the chevrons, so that was spot on.
Yeah, okay, all right, that was a fluke. Yeah. Okay, fine, thanks, Phil.
All right, brilliant. Has anyone got any questions or comments to John and Neil?
Any?
Who wants to go first?
Nobody. Okay.
Give them a second. They're all like, yeah, Roger, go on.
John and Neil, that was really interesting. I wondered what altitude you were flying at in the simulation there. You seem to be a bit low sometimes.
Very
low.
low.
The question I've got, the Morse Key, were there different models of that available? I've seen pictures of others, and there's one for sale on YouTube, on eBay now, that's about 200 quid. That's a different model. It's the same one I've got. It's different to yours though.
Yeah, I think some of them are made of Bakelite. And I think that's yeah, because as Neil said, mine is made in Canada as well. They outsourced a lot of the stuff for Spitfires to Canada because I mean, obviously the factories in the UK were getting bombed, so they couldn't make Spitfires fast enough, so they outsourced a lot of the stuff out to Canada and America. So yeah, my Morse Key's got Canada on it as well, but they started to make them in Bakelite because that would, you know, it's probably quicker to make them in Bakelite, you know.
Right, well, that's the one I've got then. It's a Bakelite one.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody can see that. That's same kind of thing with two switches for the lights up and down, and for a different model, and it works.
Yeah, sure.
There's a pixie at the back of it.
Yeah. What it seems to pity is that there's no serial number on my key, and I don't suppose there is one on well, because if there's no serial, I can't attach it to a particular aircraft, because it would be really nice to know what this particular, because it's obviously well used, so it must have seen a bit of action. I'd like to know what aircraft it was in and what sort of action it saw, but of course I'm not able to, without a serial number I can't attach it to a particular aircraft. So this is a pity. It'd be nice to know what it'd been through in the Second World War. But there we are.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger. Anyone else with a question or comment to either Neil or to John?
I've got one little picture here which I didn't show, which I could put up a minute, which might be of some interest. Just a second. I'll go back to my share screen again. Here, I'll put this up. Can you see that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
ICOM's private plane. Yeah, we can see that, John. Yeah.
Yeah, that was parked up beside the Biggin Hill Heritage Hangar. So I presume they use that for their testing their air mobile stuff. Nice little plane. Anyway, there we are. Okay.
Gerald, I think you were waving your hand.
Yeah, it's just a bit of info, Nick. Thanks. I was born in Meltham as well, in addition to knowing that Ian lives there. And my mum worked at David Brown's factory during the war because all the guys that should be there had been sent out to the Army and Navy and Air Force. And my mum, who was quite young at the time, about 20, she was there on a drilling machine, drilling holes for gearboxes. So it's quite a while since, but she was too small, yeah, as well. They had to make a special seat higher than normal so she could sit to where the drilling machine was, because she's quite the top, really.
Right. So there we are. We've got some contacts with Meltham then, which I'd never imagined. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Terry's got his hand up. Go on, Terry.
Yeah, hello. And thank you ever so much. That's God, yeah, brought tears to my eyes. I tell you, I'm not old enough to have experienced all that, but yeah, wonderful. Just noting the speeds with which the signalling lamp managed to follow the dits and dars, and I guess that the enormous gap on the key was such that you couldn't send it very quickly, because the dits would just run into each other on that filament lamp.
Yes, they did that on, as you saw on mine. They were tending to do that. I don't know what speed I was sending. It was probably around about 15 words a minute, which of course they were trained. The Spitfire pilots apparently were trained to do 15 words a minute. But I don't know if it was different on the aircraft. I was only using a filament bulb and a 6-volt bulb, not 12 volts as were actually in the actual aircraft. But I don't know if there's any way that you could have a bulb that goes on and off very, very quickly without the filament wind in those days. I mean, did they have bulbs that didn't have a filament that had to keep warming up and going off again? I wouldn't have thought so. So you wouldn't have been able to send it 15 words a minute because the bulb wouldn't go.
That's how I think it might have been. The only way they could have done it maybe would be to have a much higher voltage bulb and therefore lower currents, and it would
yeah, possibly.
You know, but
the circuit diagram actually says it's a 12 volts. So yeah, I know. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Terry. Right. Anyone else with a question or comment to either John or Neil?
Just comment, Neil.
Yes, go on, Gerald. Yeah, go ahead.
Could it possibly be a neon bulb that they used, or wouldn't that be bright enough?
Would they have a neon in the World War II though?
I don't know. Well, the neons were around at that time, but I'm not sure whether they're appropriate for that job.
Yeah, I don't know.
They turn on and off quite quickly, don't they?
You'd have a very short on, quick on and short off, wouldn't it? Otherwise, it's blending into each other, as you saw in my little video. Yeah, but
a little bit of trivia. The Hurricane was easier to handle on the ground because of the way the undercarriage or landing gear was constructed. It was much wider space. Spitfire was much closer, so it was very tricky to handle. And of course, because it was, well, I'm a private pilot, but we call those tail draggers. And that made it very difficult for the pilot to see. So if you noticed when they were taxiing, they would taxi at angles so they could see where they were going. The club, you probably noticed, I have a G0 call. I took the old RAE years ago in England on one of my trips. I love England, and I was hoping to be there this year, but COVID really messed up my travel plans. But the club I belong to is in Middlesex. It's Etchelford Amateur Radio Society. And at the annual Christmas get-together, it was a Zoom meeting. They had a raffle and they had many questions. And then Phil Tate, Dr. Tate said, this one is for Neil and he can answer that. And the question was, what was Miss Schilling's orifice? And I immediately said, that's got to be something I want to be careful about even thinking about answering. I didn't have a clue. Well, as it turns out, in the early 40s, there was a young lady, her nickname was Tilly, her last name Schilling, who of all things was an aeronautical engineer, a very, very unusual profession for a young lady in those years. The Spitfire, the early Spits, were fed with a carburetor. They were normally aspirated. And when they went into a steep dive, the carburetor would flood. And the Messerschmitt did not have that problem because it was fuel injected. So Miss Schilling came up with this idea of a disc that was inserted into the carburetor with a small opening, and so that the carburetor would not flood. And that became known as Miss Schilling's orifice. And if you go into Google, and there's a whole story about her and how she came up with that idea. She's a brilliant young lady. And one other thing I would like to mention in passing is, if you remember in the first video that John showed, it was an elderly lady, gray-haired lady with the AA wings on it. Well, those were the auxiliary ladies who would deliver aircraft. And at that time, that particular lady was 99 years of age. And when she was standing next to the Spitfire that she had actually ferried, that particular one she ferried, and the owner of that Spit brought her there because on the, you know, the way the door opens for the pilot to enter, she wrote her name and phone number.
Yes.
And it was still visible. And he said to her, why did you do that? She said, I always hoped that one of those nice lads would ring me up. So that was just a side I wanted to mention.
Yeah, those ferry ladies were brilliant because they could jump in pretty well any aircraft and fly the thing without much training at all. Anything from a Lancaster to a Spitfire to a Hurricane to whatever, they just flew them around. It's just yeah, absolutely amazing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Neil. Good story.
Got a little thing, Nick. Just a
Let's
little,
go on, Kevin. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, something quite interesting in the obviously the engine on the Spitfires, Hurricanes, they were V12s, and mounted with the sump at the bottom. Well, they didn't have a sump; they were dry sump, but the sump would be at the bottom. But with the Messerschmitt, the 109, the engine was actually upside down.
Right.
Which then allowed them to fit a 50mm cannon that fires straight through the engine. It goes through the engine, does the cannon, and then comes out of the nose of the prop, where the prop is.
Oh, okay, that's clever.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah,
the earlier Spits had the Merlin engine in it, and when they added the injected engine, the Griffon, they actually had to extend the nose on the Spitfire. I don't remember the exact measurement, but it was a significant amount, which made the nose much longer to accommodate the Griffon. Now you could always tell what engine was in there because the Merlins had on the port wing one oil cooler big air scoop. And when they went to the Griffon, they had to add a second one. And that was, yeah, they were identical on both wings.
Mm. Yeah.
Amazing
Okay.
aircraft. With a bit of luck, this later this year, well, when I book it, we'll hopefully be also flying that particular Spitfire.
You will expect the Greenhouse, yeah. They've got two
Yeah,
others there. Yeah.
That's the intention.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it. You'll love it. You're going to do 90 minutes, are you?
I thought about the 90. There's various ones.
Yeah.
The 90-minute one takes you all along the south coast.
Yeah, it'll go over the
and then it takes you up towards London.
Yes.
And then back out to the coast again.
That's
But
right.
anyhow, we'll see how much money we've got in my pocket at the time.
Yeah. He told, although I was able to fly the aircraft for about 5 minutes, just rolling it left and right and up and down a bit. That's easy. I mean, you could fly. You could put 2 fingers on the stick and it would just react to it. I mean, they say it was a beautiful plane to fly. It was that simple. But I could also have done a barrel roll in it. But as I said, I was feeling slightly queasy and I didn't do it. But I regret to this day why I didn't do it. I should have done. I almost feel like going back and doing another flight so I could do that roll. But I should have done it. So if you get the opportunity, even if you're not feeling terribly great, do it because you'll regret it if you don't.
Exactly. Yeah. The Heritage Centre.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting, but it's quite expensive actually. That
with your flight, you get a free trip around that.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise it's about £30–40, I think, just to go. But it's a good. Good.
It's 112.
Is it really? Okay.
£112.
Well,
Yes.
It's free
for the technical one.
It's all right.
Sorry.
Eh?
Yes, for the technical one, it's £112, but it's a fixed fee, so it doesn't matter how many people. You could share it out between a few people.
Right. I've got another one here I can show you from. I put on. I'll just share the screen a second. There we are. There's a couple more. Can you see that? There's a couple of Spitfires in the hangar.
Yeah.
Waiting to be reconditioned.
Yeah.
And
now, just without going back to the books, obviously these are 4-bladed props. Yeah. Am I right in saying that it was the it was only the high-powered Merlins and the Griffons that could actually turn a 4-bladed prop?
I don't know.
Because one the Griffons over 2,000 horsepower, I think.
Yeah.
There's another plane they've got in the Heritage hangar.
The BF-109.
Yeah. Now, apparently, you're talking about Neil was talking about the carriage, the narrow carriage of the Spitfire. Apparently, the Messerschmitt had the same problem. In fact, it was even worse because the undercarriage of that was even narrower, and that was a bit of a pig to taxi because of the narrow undercarriage. But
yeah.
apart from that, it was a pretty good match for a Spitfire, really. But that's
see the engine how it's upside down.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what that engine is in front of it. That might be one from that Messerschmitt as well. I don't know. But they've got lots of stuff there, as you can see. There's no World War bikes. Just here in the bottom left-hand corner, you can just see a bit of a Jeep, and that Jeep actually belonged to Steve McQueen, and they bought it off him part of his estate when he died, I think. But belonged to the film actor Steve McQueen. So there we are. Anyway, I'll stop.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, John, Neil, can we thank you both very much indeed for a really entertaining evening, and can we show our appreciation in all way, everyone, to both of them? Thank you.
Excellent.
Good. That's a bit of fun.
Bravo.
Makes a bit of a change from technical stuff, doesn't it?
Just throw money. Just throw.
Only a beer. dear. I'm going to go and have a tune now. I'm telling you, I need one.
Right. What we're going to try now is John is going to put a call out on 80 meters CW using the key.
Fire it up.
We'll try 80 first, John, just in case anyone in the UK can hear you.
Right, hang on a minute. Then I've just fired it up. I've just put my link. Hang on. I'll make sure it's all tuned up a sec. Just a second. Oops.
Yeah, what frequency again was it?
3510.
Oh, on 3510. There's nobody. Well, I can see just one signal slightly higher than me. All right, okay. I'm just going to. I better put. Wait a minute. I'll just check everything a sec. Just a minute. For some reason, I'm on the right. Okay, well, let's try it anyway. Let's see what happens. I'll put. There we go. Right, I'll put out a QRL first. I'm running about 400 watts. Oh, somebody just came back to me then. Ian 599 G3RVD. He thanked me for the talk. I'm calling CQ. TPJ. .99 there as well.
That was Richard, G4 TPJ.
Okay, well, I've worked in 579 both ways. That's two. I think there's another one there, very weak. I haven't got my headphones on, I'll put them on really. I've got some kind of feedback here now, I think. I can hear another station very weak. Let me put the camera on the what I've got here. Oh, of course I've got a. No, it won't work. I've got a screen behind me. I have to turn it off. No, never mind.
Yeah, that was me giving you a call, John. But I know my signal is not going to be very strong with you.
No, I couldn't hear it. Sorry.
No, don't worry. Anyone else want to try and give John a call?
No, but we would like to announce that John could be heard here in northwestern Germany with S4.
All right.
And the other station in the background also. But there's lots of noise here. And of course, I'm only using at this time an indoor NFET antenna, 9 meters long inside the house. So it's not really first class, but nevertheless, you were heard, John.
Okay, thanks very much, Adrian. Good, thanks. I'll put
Thank you, Mike.
I think, yeah, I don't think, I can't hear anyone calling me, so there's a... Got that wrong.
It's 599, John, up in Yorkshire.
Really? Somebody's calling me.
That's Papa Alpha 3 Delta Alpha Zulu just calling John.
Yeah, I've just got that now. 49, I think. He's in and out. Oh, he's got that. He's giving me 599. It's better now. Signal's come up a bit. Oh, it's Holland anyway. Yeah, conditions not very good. Right. Well, we'll call it a day there, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, John, for that. That was brilliant. And
okay.
Hopefully we did hear you up here. Kevin heard you. I could definitely hear you on the radio here. Ian was listening on 80 as well. We could hear your
yeah, 5 and 9 in Loughborough as well. 5-9 in Loughborough.
Really brilliant. Good. Thank you, Phil.
Good.
Yeah, John's right down on the in Cornwall, so he's a fair old distance from us.
Yes. Yeah, that was.
Did Neil have a go? Did Neil have a go? I'm not sure. Neil Foster.
I worked through G3RVD for TP.
No, I was just wondering if
G3RVM. Sorry, Kevin. G3RVM. It was John. Yeah, I don't think Neil's going to hear us on 80 meters from Georgia. No propagation between Georgia and the UK on 80 metres this time of the day?
No, there isn't. No, nothing at all.
I'll try 20. I suppose 20 metres is close now, isn't it? Because I would try that for Robert, if it, otherwise. Is 20 metres open for you, Bob? You can try that if you like. Although it's getting a bit late now, I suppose, for the meeting, if you like. If you want to, do you want to wind it down, Neil? Nick, rather.
I can't tell. I'm getting signals on 20, but I don't know where they're from yet. Okay. There is a bit of noise now, and the signals are dropping.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be amazed if we've got propagation between us this time of the day, John.
Yeah.
Into the States.
Okay. Yes. I can be on tomorrow afternoon if anybody wants to sked on 20 metres. Bob, if you want to work the Morse Key, the Spitfire Morse Key.
Yeah, give us a time and a frequency before you go, John. What time and frequency tomorrow afternoon on 20?
Let's see. Oh, well, let's say 3 o'clock or 1500 UTC.
Yeah.
1500 on 14020 thereabouts. Okay. Oh,
so 14020.
Yeah.
Thursday at 1500 UTC.
Yeah. Okay.
So John will be there
good.
with GB1 SMK.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
That should be a good time for you, Bob.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, that should be a good time. Yes.
All right. So it's N4XAT. Okay, I've got that.
Yeah.
I'll look out for you. And you can have one of my. I haven't got any QSL cards, mate, because there won't be enough QSLs. But I've got an eQSL one. If you don't do eQSL, I can email you an image of it.
I do them all. I do LOTW, eQSO.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hard card, anything you want. I usually do them all.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you can go on the on my QRZ page and see what it looks like. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to say a very big thank you to John and to Neil tonight for a very entertaining evening, and for everyone's participation, and for those of you that have listened in live on 80 meters, be able to hear John sending Morse from that amazing Morse key. So on that, I'm going to close the actual recording part of the meeting and wish everyone a very pleasant evening.
Thanks, Nick.